Seconds. Hello, everyone who's joining us. Welcome. It may be morning for some. That's me. It may be getting toward evening for others. That's Paige. We're about to kick off the event that you all are joining us here for today, or if you're watching it after the fact, good for you for taking some time on this important topic. Today is the power of help and the power of an EA. We're going to talk about reclaiming focus, capacity, and impact at the executive level. And each of you who are dialed in today, whether you're executives, rising executives, even professionals early in your career, you've been thinking about what it means to build support into what you're doing, to get some support for yourself so that you can be in your zone of genius doing the best work you can. And we're so excited to see you all. So for anyone, before we get officially started, for anyone who's here, please feel free to drop your name in the chat. And we'd love to know, just a quick thing to put in chat as we get started, what is one thing you would love to take off your plate? And my panelists, of course, can put that in the chat if they are thinking of it as well. And looking forward to hearing everyone. We've got folks dialing in all the way from Texas, all the way. Paige is going to be dialing in from Spain. So really excited to see everybody here today. A little bit of context as we get started. We are from Wednesday Women. I'm a co-founder of Wednesday Women. One of our panelists is today. Wednesday Women is an organization dedicated to amplifying extraordinary women leaders. And we do that through our public movement, which features Women Weekly, as well as private membership, which goes much deeper for the executive women themselves. And we are absolutely thrilled to be here today with one of our closest and most fun to work with partners, Base. Base is founded over 13 years ago. It's been an iteration as a founder journey she'll tell you about, by Paige McFeely, who is joining us today, and we'll get to meet more. And it is run like a boss by President Sara Altuna. And she is kind of at the helm of Base. So we're going to get both why a company like this was built, how the women and the leaders that they serve at Base, because it's not just for women, it's for all sorts of executive leaders, how they see that leadership and support system evolving, as well as why this is so important in today's really, really busy world. So very excited to get started. I'll do a little bit more of an introduction for folks as we get going, but I wanted to begin with what got us here today, which is the fact that my co-founder, Leslie Greenwood, she is a community building expert and a joy of a connector. You've probably seen her as a connection expert. She and I came to this journey on our own. We were executives who had so much on our plates. And Leslie, I'd love it if you could start our entire session off with a bit of that personal story about when did you realize that just pushing through and getting more done on your own was not going to be the leadership strategy that your company needed?
I'm going to say I'm still in an evolution of that as well. When I really knew is when Sara told me, because I am probably like many of the listeners on this call who have misunderstandings on what an EA is, what an EA does, how it actually makes my life easier, more productive, and just like, if the weight that you carry on your shoulders every day, that weight a little lighter. And I'm still working through what that looks like. So, I think it was once I saw it. Honestly, once I actually saw it and felt it, is when I knew. And now that I do know, Melissa and I have conversations all the time. Okay, what are we getting rid of next? What do we have to outsource next? Who should we hire next? How do we leverage Base more? That happens on the regular these days.
Now, our special guest today is Paige, who is a founder. She is a two-time founder, but she is the one who founded Base over 13 years ago in a slightly different iteration. Paige, I'd love to hear, we're here where we're at now. I'd love to zoom back in time and hear, why was this a problem that you were building to address? And maybe also, your own journey in that as well.
Yes. Yeah. So 13 years ago, which is pretty wild, it was actually my co-founder and I, Casey, who started this business both as new moms. We have corporate backgrounds and found ourselves with brand new babies. We both had little boys around the same time. And I was laid off from my job. And when I was, actually, this was right before I had the baby. I was very pregnant, very laid off and in a brand new city. Like, well, now what do I do? I don't know if anybody out there has tried to get a job when they're very pregnant, but it's not very easy to do. And so it was just like, we were kind of seeing problems out there, helping people here and there, and like figuring out what is the actual need there. But then as we were going through that process with these new babies, like there's got to be a better way to be parents and professionals. That it felt like a false choice that we were being forced to make, that we didn't feel like we really needed to. And so that's how BASE was born. We just saw a lot of leaders out there really needing help. And then a lot of really talented individuals who were in a space where they could provide the help. Back then, 13 years ago, remote work was not anything what it is now, right? Like we didn't even have Slack. We didn't really have any of the tools that we have today to communicate with one another. So for a remote executive assistant, your option was really like an offshore VA. And that's not what we wanted to offer. We wanted to, as you've experienced, someone who can really integrate and partner with your team. And so that's what we did, and then built it day by day, every day since then.
I love especially too that you've called out this difference of over 13 years, this world of business has changed dramatically. So for any leaders who are listening today, we can all kind of flash back and imagine what that looked like 13 years ago. Sarah is the current president of BASE, and I'd love to bring it to you, Sarah, as well, to ask maybe that evolution of what are you seeing from executives today? And we are going to dive into the side of the executive assistants as well. But what are you seeing from executives today, day in and day out, that is really pushing people to think about this shift, to think about needing the support?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I would say it truly varies from client to client, but the one pattern is that everybody is coming to us because there's too much weight on them. So that could look logistical, that could for some look emotional, that could just look like, leadership specific, like I'm not leading the company the way that I want to, or I am spending 7 to 10 p.m. every single evening in my inbox, and it's not sustainable for my family life. But it's always something about there being kind of like this pressure that's exerted that they suddenly realize they could get rid of. So I think often by the time people come to us, they have imagined or dreamt or hoped that there might be a solution there for them. A lot of people that work with us have had poor experiences before with executive assistants. So it's really an opportunity for us to talk through like finding really the right EA is the thing that's going to help you the most to relieve that weight and to give you back kind of so much brain space. Like I work with an executive assistant, and I think all the time about like the brain space that it has opened up for me, so I can like really focus on the things that I want to focus on.
It's a powerful point about executives are all very unique, and they will need unique things. I see a comment from Ashley in our chat here who mentioned about this idea of prioritizing conversations, like how, like for her, that feels something that needs the attention. Maybe quick around the horn here. We'll go maybe Sarah, Leslie, Paige, about what are some of the things conceptually that you've seen that are taking up that brain space? Sarah, maybe one or two examples?
I really love what Ashley mentioned. For me, I would think about that as relationship management. And so I'm very social. There are so many people that I want to talk to and that I want to be good to in conversation. And it can get overwhelming. So having somebody help me stay accountable on my follow-up. And yeah.
That's a great one. Leslie, how about for you? What's one thing that you really were kind of sitting with that might have pushed you to think this way?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is my late diagnosis of ADHD. So, I mean, that whole prioritization is key for me, because if you left me unattended, I'm bouncing from here to here, which I love and makes me a good early stage or a founder, but it doesn't allow me to stay productive during the day because I'm always looking for that next dopamine hit of the exciting thing that's happening. And so having someone help to focus us the way that like Sam does every Monday and every Friday ensures that I'm staying on track and not getting sidetracked by something new and exciting.
Paige, can you think about what your big weight would be or something you've seen others that prompted them?
Yeah, I mean, I love both what Sarah and Leslie say, that like this, so many of us as leaders are used to being the really capable, efficient, effective ones.
Mm.
And I think as our roles grow, our responsibility grows, but there's this kind of silent, invisible load of like the mental tracking and the anticipatory thinking and all the things that are running in that background that still feel like we have to be the one to catch them. And I think that there's a difference between our tolerance of what we can handle and what our actual capacity is. And many of us are good at stretching beyond that. And so a great assistant, just think of it like they point you like an arrow where you need to go. And helping to like remove that noise has been the most valuable thing for me.
That's well said. And I want to bring it to this idea of you mentioned kind of the person to catch or the strategic thinker, someone else that's really on your side. And Sarah, you're going to give us a little bit more too about this idea of the other half of base. And what we talk about in this particular session is it's not just about the executives, it's about that other half. We have to match the right EA and all that. Paige, maybe I'll start with you and ask the question. From the beginning, you've thought about this as sort of a marketplace of a sort. You're helping both sides in the equation. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, gosh. Well, it's been a very hands-on marketplace is kind of the way that we think of it because it is such a personal thing. It's the most intimate professional relationship that I think exists out there. And so that fit is critical. And we've spent a lot of time over the years on the fit. But also coming from on the EA side, statistically, the vast majority of executive assistants are women. Not all of our EAs are women, but many of them are. And when you look at the role that an EA does, when you look at what Sam does in your organization, she has access and such a unique vantage point within your organization to see everything from the leader's perspective without having the pressure of being the leader. And so she's going to start to showcase different skill sets in different areas. And what a tremendous, I just got goosebumps every time I think about it. What a tremendous springboard that is for an EA, because then, and we see it all the time, unfortunately, we lose the EA in that scenario, but we see it because they've like launched into another path within the organization, or they're continuing to grow alongside the person that they're supporting. And it's just it's like the leverage unlocking on both sides so that both of them can be more of themselves, but also better.
Sarah, I want to bring it to you now for the perspective too on that idea of matching the right person. So these skills that the EAs are bringing are really incredible. How do you and how should all of us be thinking about finding the right EA for our own needs?
Yeah, I think when you come to, when you work with an EA, any company you work with, you're probably going to get matched on things like tech compatibility, right? Like what's the tech stack you use? What are the, what's the time zone? What are the working hours where you need alignment? Something that we uncovered at Base, we actually did kind of a massive study of about 10 years of client feedback on their executive assistants to look for themes where leaders either praised or criticized. They either had something very positive to say or something less positive to say. And we broke patterns down into the attributes that ultimately matter, and we now match for those attributes. So we ask clients to talk about both to talk about themselves, like I'm more introverted or extroverted, and then I would like an EA who's more introverted or extroverted. But we also ask the executive assistants how they would identify, right? That's the input, but also what they prefer, because the right match isn't just the leader finding their perfect EA, it's the EA finding their perfect leader, because that's what unlocks the magic. And that's when you see, just so much growth and so much joy as well. Like I have so much joy working with my executive assistant, Tabby, every day.
Leslie, I know you've seen that live. Yeah, go ahead. Please add in.
Paige has something. Then I was just going to say, I'm going to interrupt.
I was just going to say, so like Sarah said, we did this massive study over 10 years, and we were doing a lot of it very manually from the beginning, but now we've built technology that helps us do that process so much faster. So what used to take us sometimes a week or two to find the right fit, we can now do very, very quickly. But my favorite part about it is the ability that it's given us to have a double opt-in, because the executive comes in and they're looking for help, and the EA sees all the opportunities, but it's not that they're just like being picked and we show them to you. They're saying, yeah, I want that, and here's why. And that, I think, has helped us just build so many smart relationships and prevent future transitions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just going to add that, as we went through our process with you, the questions that you ask, introverted, extroverted, things like that. Melissa's more extroverted. I'm more introverted, but we're a very early stage company. And so if the person that we worked with was super introverted and afraid to talk to us and afraid to say something like, ooh, that doesn't make sense, or whatever, and was afraid to like go down our crazy path with us because we had lots of ideas, it just wouldn't work. Like without that type of matching, like we would have someone who we would just feel like we had run right over, and they would be like, who are these crazy people, without that match? Well, Sam's in the audience, so she can tell the truth in the chat, but still, like that kind of match is really important to us and something we really paid attention to.
So we've heard this idea that we have things on our plate that move us. So the first thing we're always thinking about is, the thing that I need to not be doing. The second is who I am as a leader and kind of what I need. Like what is the approach I have? The third that we've talked about is this idea of really thinking about the EA and getting the right EA. I want to tackle kind of a trickier subject, which is what holds people back? What is that last thing? I've got the work. I know what I need. I'm finding someone great. I know the base is going to give me something great. What is keeping people back? Why are executives not getting the support that they need? Because let's be honest, I see a lot of very overloaded, stressed out, especially in this world, executives. What's holding them back? Paige, I'm going to put this to you first. What's something you've seen?
So like Sarah mentioned, a lot of the people that come to us they've decided that they need help. And frequently we hear about their journey to that process. And usually it's something of like, I didn't think I'd earned it yet, or the time didn't quite feel right. Like it would be too selfish of me maybe to do that, to ask for the budget. Maybe we couldn't hire some help for someone else, or, whatever it might be. But a lot of it is this internal permission that leaders need to give themselves, that it's okay to have help. And hey, it might actually even make you a better leader. And that's a mental journey that we can't fast track. You can see them when they come to us asking questions. If they're not there yet, it's not going to be a good fit. But a lot of times that happens once they've hit a wall. They're just so exhausted. And they're like, I really needed help 6 months ago, but I'm finally here now. So whatever that process is, it's like realizing you deserve it and that it's okay.
Yeah. Sarah, we've recently published with you guys a couple articles that are telling this story of like what held them back and why. Any other examples you've seen of what's holding people back besides this definite internal narrative that we're all telling ourselves?
Yeah, one of the things I see often, and I'm actually sitting in for our salesperson at the moment, so I'm getting to talk to a lot of leaders who are coming in, and so I'm talking to people who are almost there. They're almost ready. So where I see them get caught up is the misconception that it will be a lot of work to onboard an EA. So they know they need help. They know that they're busy, but they feel too busy for an EA, which is kind of like a catch-22, right? Because it's like, you're too busy, you need the help. The help will help you be less busy. And then this misconception that it's going to be so much work to get up and running. But a really great EA is going to make it as seamless as possible. At Base, we have a very set onboarding program that all of our EAs lead their clients through. So like a great EA will onboard you and make it as they are there to save you time from day one, not from day 30. And so a lot of people, I think, hesitate to get started out of this misconception that it's going to be this massive lift, and they could be getting help much sooner in their journey.
Leslie, anything to add with that? I see vigorous nodding.
I think my head is going to fall off. And this goes also to Ashley's question, Ashley's question in the chat about like how much you have to have prepped for, an EA to come. And it's like, for me, and this is different with everyone, like Melissa doesn't need this as much, but like Sam built most of our SOPs. Now Melissa had built some, but like everything she did and created, she built the SOP. She came with a lot of the ideas. And also like for me, I'm not as good. One of my weaker points, and I think it does have to do with the ADHD, is getting ideas and thoughts out of my head onto paper. And so we've just come up with a process where I voice note things. And my voice notes are very stream of consciousness. They're everything I'm thinking about. They may jump around a little bit, but then, the EA gets the tenor and the tone and the passion, or here's the frustration. And there's just so much context within that. that, I mean, I can talk. So I think anybody that can talk and explain your challenges and are open and vulnerable enough to share those challenges with your EA is actually super skilled to take that and to put that into an action plan. That's my experience anyway.
I would add to that too. Sorry, I would add to that it's not a bunch of work to onboard an EA, but you do have to make the commitment to do it because they're not mind readers. So sometimes when we see things falling apart, it's like the executive doesn't really even realize that they haven't set expectations clearly, and they're not coming at it from both ways. So it's not extra work, but you have to approach it of like, all right, this is a partnership. Let's do this. So that can maybe be another one of the reasons that we see people holding back.
I'll add one more, and it's all tied together here. But one thing I'm hearing a lot of is this idea of the EA can come into the relationship as strategic, right? So you can bring them things and they can help solve the problem. There's a very common misconception, or let's just call it a confusion, of the scope of what has been, especially in the remote world, as Paige mentioned, it's a different world now, with virtual assistants, VAs versus EAs. So I'd love to tackle that right now, because I think having something perfectly planned out that someone goes and executes, in my mind, that falls into what we call a VA, or like just someone who executes what you put forward. Sarah, you're on the ground seeing this. How would you make that definition very clear for people?
Yeah, I think like I genuinely believe that people should get the support they need. And for some people that is a VA. So if you need help with inbox, calendar, and like very repetitive tasks, and you do have those SOPs in place, a VA might be a really good option to just come in, plug in, and run the playbook that you've already set. If you're looking for more of a strategic partner, so somebody who's going to come in and think alongside you, but also identify areas in your business where they can help you grow. So it's not just kind of receiving, I don't want to say tasks, but like receiving direction. It's also pushing back and saying, I actually really think we should be focusing on this. I know what your Q1 goals are. And are you sure that this is the project you want to be working on right now? It should be this, or from my perspective, it should be this. And here are the 8 ways that I can help you get it started. So it's kind of like a little bit subtle and nuanced, but I think it's in the relationship almost, perhaps. I'm thinking out loud here, but yeah.
No, that's beautifully said. Anything to add to that, Paige or Leslie?
I will just say, for me, I just know that I can't, well, anybody that's talked to us about EA, Sam manages us. We do manage. I don't manage Sam. I hope we lead Sam. We need to do a better job leading Sam. That is one thing that we're working on personally. But like, she manages us. Like, she gives us our task list based on the processes. We added checking in on Friday to make sure we did it, and maybe a bump on Thursday if it's really important, because we are going in so many different directions. I don't have time to be giving people all the tasks and 17 instructions on how to do one task, because in that case, I really could just do it myself. And so, but maybe I also have that mindset. You know, I'm the person that thinks they can do everything. And so I know Melissa and I have had a lot of conversations on like, challenging you could let that go. Challenging you could let that go, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would add that, again, going back to that arrow analogy, my EA, Debbie, a lot of the stuff that I've successfully let go of, that felt very hard to let go of, it was all at her urging. And she helped me prioritize it and figure it out. And was like, hey, you know, she said it more delicately than this, but like, instead of obsessively checking your inbox and Slack all the time, like, what if we set some parameters of when you check it? It's like, and when she gives me that feedback, I listen, because she is not only there as a thought partner, but she is my proxy in a lot of ways too, but her vantage point is different than mine. And so she has different access to people in the team than what my access looks like. And she sees different things. And that feedback from that vantage point is I don't know how I would do my job without her. And that's different than what you would find with a VA.
Absolutely. The ability to not just execute, but then to unlock more for the executive is something we've seen for sure as well. Paige, I loved your point about unlocking might just be a recommendation for how the executive is approaching their day. It may just be saying, let's not do it throughout the day, let's do it in a time block.
Yeah.
I will say for me, it has been not so much around time blocking, but around prioritization. How, for me, the unlock has been, what are you doing now versus can be done in 3 weeks. That's been an unlock. Sarah, have you seen any other, I always say across the partnerships, you've seen a lot of this. What is the unlock that you've seen that maybe allows these pairs to work really well together?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back a little bit to something that Paige mentioned earlier, but truly this is the biggest unlock, is giving feedback. I think a lot of us assume that our preferences are best practices. So color coding my calendar should be obvious. Every great EA should do that. Some people hate color coded calendars, right? So for any preference you have, I can almost guarantee you that somebody else has an opposite preference. And the EA wants to do what you prefer, but if you assume that your preference is a best practice, then you don't communicate it and you get frustrated that your EA isn't performing well. On the flip side of that, executive assistants are there to help you. Like, that's literally their job, is to make you better and to learn your preferences. And that's how they do their best work. And so it's this, people can get caught in a bit of a rut where they have a strong, like the executive has a strong preference. They're frustrated that their EA isn't doing it. The EA realizes the executive's frustrated, but the executive hasn't told them what their preference is. And it just gets into this sticky loop, because I think that oftentimes feedback can feel really uncomfortable for a lot of us, or a little bit sticky, or a little bit like when I started working with an executive assistant, I went into it knowing that my biggest struggle was going to be communicating preferences, because I'm a little bit conflict averse. And I was like, it's scary to, it feels like conflict, but it's not. It's like telling her how she can do the best job for me. And I think that once people get into a good cycle, that's the unlock. We often have clients who come to us. So at Base, every client has a dedicated account manager just to be there to like talk through anything like logistical or relational that they might need to just kind of like have a thought partner through. And sometimes we'll have clients who come and say, like, I'm not sure that this is working. I really need this for my executive assistant, but instead I'm getting this. I would say 95% of the time we say, well, have you told your executive assistant that? And they say no. And then we're like, okay, so like, let's start there. Let's start there and then see how things go. And people can go from saying, I'm not sure that this will work, to saying, this is the best executive assistant I've ever worked with in my entire career. And it just comes down to feedback. So I think bi-directional feedback as well, right? Like, it's not just about you telling your executive assistant your preferences. It's about like, I think our onboarding does a really good job of like uncovering, okay, what are the priorities and what are the preferences for the executive, but also for the executive assistant, because like, this is their profession and their career, and they're building something too. And it has to feel good on both sides. Mm-hmm. So feedback is my TLDR on that one.
I love that. Leslie, you look like you wanted to add a little something.
That is just something. I mean, we try to, and I think just kind of like the color coding thing or whatever, like there's assumptions, and it's like, I assume, and I know I've said it some, but I need to say it more often. And this is for our membership. This is for people we do business with. I value open and candid, direct feedback. Mm-hmm. Please do not come to me with the around the way, reading around the bush. Like, I don't understand that. And so like, I want everyone to know that that's how we work. We have a culture of feedback. Mm-hmm. And so just like reiterating that, doubling down on that. And that's something that, like all of this is like a work in progress. Those of us that are new to this world, like Melissa and I, we are learning every day, and we are making some mistakes, and we are trying to do better. But then that open dialogue just makes us so much better. So that's what I wanted to add, because it was like, ooh, feedback. Yes. All the feedback, please.
And there are a lot of questions. That's part of the reason we're gathered here today, is to think about like, I don't know how that works. What do I do if I have feedback and I don't think it's working? It's really beautiful. I will say that Base has that account manager structure, because sometimes a third party can make it so much easier. I wanted to mention a question that came up in chat, and open welcome to anyone who's got questions. This should be a very much of a conversation. Please drop any honest questions in. One more question from Ashley, and this was one that I had as well as we first jumped in. Can a EA relationship work on a part-time basis? And the question being, do people use it for a few hours or more? I know Base has a great approach to that. Sarah, Sarah, I know I've known Sarah and I'm calling her Sarah today. I don't know why. Sarah, can you tell us Base's approach to that in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two core products. Basically, we have something that we call subscription, which is fractional hours. It can go from anywhere around 10 hours a week up to 40 hours a week. So, we also have another product that is we help you find if you're ready to hire an executive assistant in-house, we go out and we'll source for you, and then you can trial in real time unlimited executive assistants in your world until you find the person that is the right fit for you, and then you bring them in-house. We just don't believe that interviews do justice to such an important hire, so you need to have experience working. On the part-time, most people who come to us, I would say, start with a part-time model. They're not exactly sure what they need. They want to be cautious, and they start, some people will even start as low as 5 hours a week. Obviously, the more hours you have, the stronger a partnership you're going to build. I think that's true with any relationship in our lives. The more time we spend with somebody, the better we know them, and the more of a partnership we can build. But you can start part-time, and then a lot of people scale up once they realize, like I've seen people go truly from 20 hours a month up to 100 hours a month over a course of like a few months, because they're like, oh, I had no idea. I had no idea, right? And then it's like, we have people who come to us for one EA very part-time, and then by the end of it, have two EAs working almost full-time for them, because they're like, oh no, this is like, the ROI is here because my business is growing because of this help that I'm getting. So I think it's we have a very flexible model, because we know that on the one hand, people aren't always sure what they need coming in, but also that people's businesses are cyclical. You might need more help at some point and less help at another point. And so we've designed a model that can really like scale and, I don't know, what's the opposite of scale? Like pull back. I don't know if anybody knows the opposite of scale, but anyway, alongside expand and contract. Thank you, Paige.
Now
Thank
it's a
you,
framework.
Expand and contract with you, so that you are only paying, for what you need, and that you're pulling back in the moments that you don't need as much support.
Sarah, it's neat to think about this idea of starting small and growing. Paige, I know you've seen that as well, and I think you even mentioned it. Sometimes the danger is someone takes an EA from fractional and makes them their own forever and ever, which is great on all fronts. When executive support really works, what do you see changing for these leaders? What have you seen that really shifts on the leaders?
A lot of it, it shows up in different ways. But what I found is we all kind of carry around this constant ticker tape of shoulds in our brain. Like we should do this, we should do that. I should be responding to this person quickly, or I should email my kid's teacher about something. Whatever it is, it's nonstop. And a lot of those shoulds slow down. And so, yes, maybe you've outsourced tasks, and that's great, but it's that mental load that begins to lighten. And so that all that like mental cost that you've spent on your ticker tape is now free for strategic things. Or kind of one of the signs for me is they go take a vacation, and they actually take a vacation. Like they're not constantly checking in. They're, I know, Leslie, Sarah and I have a term of like, there's like a family trip, and then there's like a precious vacation where you're not checking in and you're fully protected. And when the clients can go take a precious vacation, it's like, that's what kind of gift is that? That's priceless. But a lot of the times they can do it not just because they've outsourced tasks, but they trust that that person is there in their corner. And if something truly urgent, which most of us don't work in like a truly urgent industry, but if anything urgent happens, they know where to find them. It'll be fine. And then like that release is huge.
Well said. And we recently, I think I mentioned, we partnered with you all to do some stories that showcased not just the executive and what they do, but the executive and the executive assistant and how they work together. And I think the stories touched on, moving from burnout into kind of growth stage, and moving from kind of the stage of chaos and that psychological whirlwind into focus and clarity. And I will put a link to some of those, what do you call them, articles as well. But I think this idea of it can look different, as you said, but the psychological safety that would allow an executive to take a vacation is that sweet spot of where success ends up looking.
Yeah. Are we going to look back at the end of our lives and think, gosh, I wish I would have worked harder? No, we're not. Like, life is supposed to be fun and beautiful and joyous and creative. And yet we are all walking around carrying this weight that we don't really have to when there's help available. And that, like, permission slip, hopefully we're granting that today to people. You have permission to put the weight down.
I love that. I'm going to encourage the chat. If you have more questions, pop them into the question area. We've got one or two more coming. But as a quick round robin for this group, what would we say? Like, pretend we're speaking right now to the executive leader, maybe even specifically the executive woman who is carrying too much and heard that idea of a vacation and thinks, I can never get there. What would you say to her in this arena? Leslie, maybe we'll start with you.
I'm going to say that there's just a big mental reframe that needs to happen there. Like, I'm a big fan of the reframe. It's like, you do deserve it. You deserve it because you work hard, because I don't know, because of, like my therapist once told me, you deserve all of it because you exist. And so, you do deserve that. I know sometimes people can feel like, and especially maybe more women, that asking for EA is asking for help, which can be misinterpreted, that they're unable to do their jobs. I think that is a sign of leadership, that that you can do your best work with this assistance. And so like, for those that might have been thinking that, but didn't want to say it in the chat, like, you are not the only one. I've heard this so many times. So I would think about what's holding you back from that, and at least have the conversation. And, somebody also said in the chat, like, how do I know what they would do? And I found out a lot of that stuff just by having the conversation with Sarah. I really had no idea what the opportunity would be.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, what would you say to someone in this position, to the executive leader who would love that vacation but isn't there yet?
And I hear this all the time, from women, sometimes from men, more often from women who don't feel like, they're unsure whether they can justify the expense. The way that I like to, as Leslie used the word reframe, my reframe is more around, you're not just doing it for you, you're doing it for your business, you're doing it for your company, you're doing it for your colleagues, you're doing it for your direct report. It's not selfish. You are going to lead better and contribute more because of the help. So if you can't justify it in your mind as individually for you, then think about the impact it will have more broadly on your work, on your revenue, on your top line, on your productivity, on your career growth, all of the things. I guess actually some of those were, career growth is personal, but I mean, it really isn't just for you. It's for all of those around you. It's for your family. Like, my EA has texts with my kids, like, my EA helps me with personal tasks and things where I'm like, I'm overwhelmed by this right now and it's getting in the way of my work. And so she'll come in and help with personal stuff as well. So it's for your family, it's for your colleagues, it's for your company, it's for your growth, it's for your partner. It's not just for you. It's not selfish. It's really not. I got a little excited. I could talk about this for a long time.
I love it. We're going to give her the microphone just to go all day.
Oh my gosh, I could. Don't do that. It would be dangerous.
I'm sure Sarah would love a chat with anybody who needs more pumping up.
And I'll drop my booking link into the chat if anybody wants. I'll talk to you all day long about anything. Truly,
I love that.
Yeah.
Paige.
Yeah. So I think when most of us picture a leader, kind of the stereotypical leader, oftentimes it's a man, and like this thing that we like to celebrate as great leadership can feel like a lot of pressure, especially for women leaders. It feels like you have to kind of be a certain way or check a certain box. And the way that we celebrate it is like endurance, like we're celebrating the CEO that goes and sleeps on the factory floor for years so that they can like perfect this product launch and all of that. But like, our endurance is not really worth celebrating. I think it's a great tool that gets us to where we need to be. But like, great leaders, they are expanding the shared capacity of their team. Like, they're building a room that doesn't center around them. They're building a room that doesn't need them in it anymore. And that's how you unlock the key to great leadership. It doesn't necessarily have to be through an EA. There are great leaders who don't have that, but that's what they do, right? Is they make it about something bigger than themselves. So yes, an EA can give you great personal relief and joy, but this like idea that we have to handle everything ourselves, otherwise we're not being a good leader, is just a cultural, it's something we've inherited from our culture. It's not actually true. And I don't think it's actually a sign of a good leader.
Can I add one more thing too?
Yes.
I don't think I've shared this story very much, but like when I was a stay-at-home mom, I was we'll call it an executive assistant to a real estate agent. So I helped her with her stuff and piles of receipts. Seriously, no. But that was, I mean, for me, I wanted to get out and I wanted to earn a little money. So it's like, yes, I'm helping myself, but you know, when you're hiring an EA, you might be helping someone that was like me, that is a stay-at-home mom, or that is looking for a flexible career, or is looking to grow their skill set. That makes me feel good. You know, like that personally makes me feel good that I'm also doing something that's helping me and helping someone else. So if you need the full mental reframe and you just can't get to where you deserve it for yourself, think about it from the other side. And yeah, Paige, go ahead.
I love that, because I think a lot of us feel guilt about offloading stuff that we don't like to do or that we're not maybe good at. But the world is such a big, beautiful place. And there are people out there who love doing the stuff that you hate to do.
Crazy. It's crazy to me.
Blows my mind. Yes, I know. Like, it blows my mind. But like this shouldn't, it's okay to not like things, and it's okay to find other people who do like them and who can do them for you. Like, it's a good thing.
And I would love to jump in as well to say, across clients that we have, different people hate different things. I think there's this conception that, oh, I'm the CEO and I have an EA and this is my role and this is an EA's role and this is a pattern across the industry or whatever. That's not the case at all. Some people are like, I love writing my own emails. I don't want my EA in my inbox. I would love someone though who helps me with like accounting. So we'll say, great, we can find you an EA who has a background, maybe as a CPA, who then transitions into executive assistant work and now can come and work with you on that sort of task. Like, I think more, I mean, yes, there is an element of like, I don't enjoy this, but also an element of like, I'm not particularly good at this. Like, my EA is better at me at all kinds of things. Like, they are professionals who have built careers around doing this work. Like, if you have an EA, listen to them. Like, they know what they're doing. They spend their days thinking about doing this thing. And so anyway, again,
we often hear the term zones of genius, and that doesn't just apply to only the leader, right? When you are a leader at a larger team, you have a sales team that focuses on doing sales well. You have a marketing team that knows their stuff in marketing. You can absolutely have executive assistants who are the ones who make the ship run beautifully because they can do things in their zone of genius that are not in yours. And so that kind of dovetails with when we were speaking about what we would say to people who are thinking about this. I really enjoyed the book, Buy Back Your Time. It's by Dan Martell, but it's really about doing the things that you should be doing and giving the things that you shouldn't be doing for various reasons to someone who does them well and does them in their zone of genius. And it's the same idea. I know I think I had one or two more questions that came in around this. So we're going to move fully into the question section. So if you have not yet asked your question, please go ahead, drop it in the chat. I know we've already addressed a few. One of the questions that I had been asked was around the difference between, and actually I think there was a question in chat that mentioned it as well. Why does it feel like men often have executive assistants and women don't? And I wanted to tweak that question a bit because we've touched on it a bit. BASE has a very specific thinking about this. You've got Project 2072. I would love to hear from one of you about that. Maybe Paige, would you explain what Project 2072 is?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was last International Women's Month, right? Like, we've got the day, the week, the month now. I don't know. And Sarah and I were talking and we are like, okay, yeah, we could do some social media posts celebrating women. most of our team is female. The vast majority of our EAs are female. We love working with female clients also. But it just kind of felt like that's what was expected of us and kind of what the norm was. And we were like, man, why don't we like put our money where our mouth is? And we've talked about this. We sit on the more strategic side of things. Like you can find a lower cost executive assistant elsewhere. We really want to step in and be a strategic partner. But we also realize like women's starting point, right? Like on average, we're earning far less than our male counterparts. And so Project 72 is an attempt at closing that gap. So what we've committed to doing, McKinsey, pretty sure it was McKinsey, estimates that women will not reach pay parity until the year 2072. That's stupid. That's really, really, really far in the future from where we are right now. So we're like, what if we come up with this really random discount of 20.72% and apply that to every single hour of a base EA support that any women clients receive. And so we rolled that out last year. I guess it's almost been a year ago now. And that exists until there is pay parity, that 20.72 discount. So it's a little bit in our tiny corner, but felt like something that we could do to make a difference for the women who deserve support and come across base.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Sarah.
And if I could jump in, stay tuned for next month's big announcement, because we're rolling out another big initiative that is very similar. I don't know. Can I just share it? Do we have time? Can I give like a
It's up to you. I don't know if you're allowed to share it yet. I think you're the president, so you probably tell us if you can.
So this initiative very much helps women in leadership. And now we're taking it to the other side and thinking about the EAs, who very often are women who have come to base to look for a different kind of career. They have passed our assessment. It's rigorous. We let like less than 2% in. They have strong transferable skills, but perhaps they don't have direct executive assistant experience on their resume. They are wanting to make that shift into the work. And so in March of this year even, we will be launching a program where any woman who is looking for support can get it at a very discounted rate if they are willing to partner with a woman who is launching their EA career. You're going to get all the same amazing benefits that you would from a base EA. Your EA just might not have exactly executive assistant on their title. You're building a woman's career and you're getting access to support at a discounted rate. And I know that Tabby, my EA, is on the video right now, and we both get goosebumps when we talk about it, because like it's a very exciting and very empowering initiative. So stay tuned for that. Very excited to get it out there.
Oh, near and dear to my heart. I will say 25 years ago, I changed industries and careers, and I stepped into a role in the executive assistant space. And that's what launched me into a completely different career. So doing that, and that may not just be early career. It may be also women who are finding a different balance in their career later, and they have a huge amount of skills, and they're looking to transition into either more flexibility or their zone of genius, if that's what they love doing.
We have people who are directors of marketing at like NBC, but they're not being picked by clients because they don't have executive assistant on their resume. But like whatever. Okay. Yeah. It's just
very exciting.
That sort of experience can be a really good thing, right? Like there's non-traditional support that exists and that will help you.
Sarah, I just love your enthusiasm. And I'm just going to put a little Wednesday Women plug in here. Like, yes, BASE is our partner. We don't partner with everyone. This partnership aligns with us in so many different ways, from the way that we think, about women and careers, and the way that careers move up and down into W-2, non-W-2 kind of spaces, and having that flexibility and supporting each other. Just like I'm also getting goosebumps just because like I love this mission and it just aligns with us so well. And I'm just so appreciative of this.
Well, it has been a really exciting conversation here today. I think that there's, so much more to be had and said. I want to make sure that everyone knows they can reach out. You'll receive an email if you're live. Otherwise, it'll be on the speaker page, but you'll receive an email, and I'm sure you can reach out to any of us to connect on LinkedIn. I'd love to go around the horn and just ask, where else should people find out what each of us are working on or is most important today? Sarah, what's the main point of contact for BASE in particular?
Well, check out our website, basehq.com. You can learn more about all of our different offerings. I also linked my meeting link, my scheduling link in the chat, and Tabby, my EA, is going to link it again. I will talk to you about anything related to executive assistants. Like, just come and talk to me. I'm here for it. I'm passionate about it. Let's explore all the things. So that's where you can find me, and on LinkedIn. But chat with me. It's more fun.
Fantastic. Paige, how about you?
Yeah, so Sarah is like running all the things at Base right now, and that's been such a tremendous thing for me in a lot of ways. But a lot of it for this quarter is because I'm writing a book, and a book about a lot of these things that we've been talking about today. It's called Built to Breathe, and it's this idea that you really don't have to choose between your ambition and extreme success and having a life that breathes just a little bit. And it's really, I think, the book that I needed to read myself with, like, throughout this journey of motherhood and being a founder and all the things. And so I am on LinkedIn, but a little bit less active right now as I wrap up this project. But also PaigeMcFeely.com will be where we start sharing stuff, hopefully very soon, with listing it for pre-sale and all the things.
Oh, that's so exciting. Leslie, how about you?
Well, I'm always on LinkedIn too much. And then if you're a Wednesday Women member, you can find me in the platform. I think we have 3 or 4 members and FYI, Sarah and Paige are also Wednesday Women members. So if you are in our membership, feel free to connect with them on the platform if you want to discuss it more. So find me there, find me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to chat.
Excellent. And for everyone who's here today, if you're hearing this and it sounds like you, that's wonderful. We want to talk to you. If you're hearing this and it sounds like a friend or someone you know, please share the recording with them, because this is a conversation that so many of us need to have and we don't often take the time to do. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. It was a pleasure to chat with each of you ladies. I could sit and have this conversation all day long. Thank you to Sarah and Paige for joining us. Please definitely also consider checking out what's coming up from Wednesday Women in terms of other events. We have more online events and certainly in-person events as well, and we hope to see many of you there. Thank you to everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.